Hello and welcome back to the Loyal Sons Show. That's at the Loyal Sons on all forms of social media. Follow us here and follow us there for Pitt sports content you will not want to miss. If you love victory weekends and hate when Pitt's generational athletes go to the pros and, I don't know, maybe hit a rough patch or something, this is the place for you. The Loyal Sons Show, a safe, sunshiny place for your Pitt athletics fix. My name is David. I'm joined as always by Squid and Dylan. And gentlemen, let me open up the show by asking you a little riddle. What do this past Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday have in common?
For days that end in Y.
So close. Keep going.
Did Pitt happen to win an athletics competition on each of those days?
As a matter of fact, they did. Squid, we're going to count it. What I was going for was 4 straight nights of victory lights. Yes, it was a big weekend, extended weekend for the University of Pittsburgh athletics department.
Yeah, Saturday was light up night in Pittsburgh, and Pitt was just doing their part to keep the city extra bright.
So, how many of those nights were the victory lights actually on? Because I know they go on after football wins and then like select big wins for other teams. Do we know what nights they actually turn them on? We'll just say all 4.
Yeah.
I don't think they were, but we'll just say all 4.
It's more the metaphor that's important. Because Pitt had big, important wins all 4 days, including doubling up a couple days. So, if we want to rehash, and we're going to, this is how, we're gonna spend the rest of the episode is talking about a very great weekend for Pitt athletics. Thursday, the Pitt football team pulls an upset, not an upset if you ask Vegas, but an upset if you are a human that has watched Pitt play football this season.
Not an upset. Boston College was terrible. I don't know how they have 6 wins. Friday, Pitt basketball gets the win against a terrible Jacksonville team.
You're really taking all the fun out of this, aren't you?
They're worse at basketball than Boston College is at football. Saturday, I didn't attend, but you guys attended the electric volleyball match that packed the Pete.
Does Louisville suck too, or are we done ruining everything?
No, I think they're actually pretty good. What were they ranked coming into that match?
Number 4.
Number 4. That ain't bad.
Well, let's also not forget a victory in a ranked matchup for Pitt wrestling on Sunday. And I believe over the span we are referring to, Pitt women's soccer won 2 NCAA tournament games to advance to the Elite 8.
That ain't bad.
No, especially considering what the fall has looked like thus far for us. This was a much needed pick-me-up.
Yeah, I think I forgot what it was like to experience joy. The football team has really sucked a lot of that out of me. And, they did their part. We saw the sheriff put on a show. The sheriff, Nate Yarnell, attended the basketball game Friday night. They did more of their winning ways. I'm starting to get really excited about basketball. And then the other teams, I can't lie to you. I haven't watched or kept up with the women's soccer team or the wrestling teams, but I know that all of those programs have been exponentially more successful than the football team has been this season. So Heather Like doing a damn good job up there. Victory Heights will be built and up and running very soon. We see
to live up to its name.
Yeah, we see the beginnings of it on our walks up to the Pete before the basketball games. So football, once you guys figure it out, we're going to be cooking with gas here. But unfortunately, a lot of our lives revolve around the football team.
Yeah, a lot of Pitt sports, especially wrestling and both of the soccer teams, it's kind of like a really dependable savings account. It's you don't you don't have to pay attention to it, but it's earning 5%, and like it's getting the job done, and you check in on it, when you have like you need to buy a couch, or what's something more fun than a couch, like a TV, probably a car, a house. And then you check in and it's like, yeah, everything's going according to plan. This is a well-oiled machine. But we'll give them a little bit more shine as they get closer and closer to that ultimate goal of national championships. But as far as the other three sports, where do we want to start?
It was really sweet being in a packed Peterson Event Center for volleyball. That was my second match. David, that was your first. I'm guessing it lived up to the hype.
Oh, absolutely. That was probably one of, if not a top 3 most electric sporting events I've attended this year. Like that took the cake from a lot of Steeler games I've been to. And I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. Like the flow of the game and having like an intense crowd at a volleyball match is like nonstop wall-to-wall action, electricity, crowd involvement, the whole gamut. It was really, really remarkable, for a first-time attendee.
It had everything you'd ask for. You had record attendance. It had rivals going at it, 2 top 10 teams, a lot of ACC title implications. It had a huge comeback. I think every set was extremely back and forth. So Pitt was down early, but you were on the edge of your seat up until that final point when Louisville would pull away. And then they just didn't give up, and they pulled off the gosh darn comeback.
Yeah, so I guess to take you through the whole thing, Pitt takes a lead in the first set, drops it. Pitt takes an even bigger lead in the second set, drops it. So
that one was bad. That was
really bad.
I think they lost like 5 or 6 in a row to blow a big lead. So
yeah,
you thought that was the backbreaker.
Oh yeah, certainly. Like everyone was down, very nearly out, no momentum. It kind of felt like it would have been a good time to grab your free T-shirt, throw it over your shoulder, and head to the parking lot. But boy, are we glad we didn't, and are we glad that we asked Cat Flood to explain to us what a reverse sweep was on the last episode, because then we knew what the thing that was about to happen was.
Yeah, that was very poetic. As I thought of it, I don't know, maybe in the 4th set, I was like, wait a second. We talked to Kat about this in the last episode. I didn't say it out loud because I didn't want to jinx it, but as soon as they got that final point in the 5th set, which was extremely dramatic, you couldn't ask for more drama. I was like, oh my gosh, we saw the future in the last episode.
I just thought of how variably like the time could go in volleyball matches. I mean, I guess I knew that, but like that could have just ended there. Instead, there was just 2 more sets, 2 additional sets.
Yeah, I know it's like being down 3-0, the Yankees, Red Sox back in 2004. It's like, don't let us win this one. Don't let us win the next one. 5th set, anything can happen.
Yeah, Dylan, I actually remarked on that to Squid on the way out, because that match was a full 3 hours. And I don't know why, but I walked in there thinking that volleyball matches were like clinical, like you're maxing out at an hour 45 there. But I have no complaints, because that was 3 hours of pure adrenaline and gamesmanship, and I loved every second of it. It's
just so fast paced, and having, 8,800 56.
We'll call it 10,000. Just call it an
people.
even 10,000.
Yeah, we'll round up. There were 10,000. It sounded like a million inside of the Pete. That just made it so much better. And you have to think the crowd played a factor. So, gonna pat our backs again here, David.
Congrats to us.
Fun fact for the listeners: David and I, only two out of the group that went to the Pitt Louisville football game that stayed until the very end. We had a few people who were underdressed and not prepared for the rain and were annoyed with Pitt football and left early, but not David and I. We stuck it out. Pitt volleyball, just the two of us holding it down to the Pete.
Moral of the story there is we are the Cardinal Killers.
Mm-hmm. If you need Pitt to beat Louisville, give us a call. We will show up. We may or may not understand the rules of the sport that is being played, but you will win.
Yeah, I wasn't at either, so we might need to figure that out for future contests against Louisville.
I think the basketball team will be fine without us. Louisville's abysmal, so we'll test it for other sports.
So, Dylan, what you're saying is if you hadn't made the trip to Kentucky last year, Pitt would have won 10 football games. Again.
Wow. I hope that's not the case.
We'll have to keep an eye on that moving forward. But Squid, I'd love to hear, we're kind of outsiders to this sport. Any observations you have, keys to the game, or who really stood out to you?
Oh, boy. Well, as the most qualified to talk about this in the podcast, seeing as how I've watched a handful of games each year on my phone, I think it's a really good team. You saw on Twitter just now, Rachel Fairbanks won Setter of the Week, and Tori Stafford won ACC Offensive Player of the Week. So they were just kind of firing all cylinders.
Yes, Squid, and I don't think those were even really like two of the players that stood out to the naked eye or to the inexperienced eye, because to me, Olivia Babcock and Valeria Vasquez Gomez, they looked like the real stars. Vasquez Gomez must have shoulders made of rubber bands, because the amount of torque she was getting spiking the ball over and like maybe attempted 100 spikes and was just like unbothered completely. My right side of my body would have fallen off after 3 of those, because the way you get up and you contort yourself and the amount of like strength and torque you put into trying to spike looks like something that would kill a lesser person, i.e. me. Also, Olivia Babcock is just the truth. That's a freshman. They're going to build a statue for her.
Yeah, my analysis is she hits the ball absurdly hard, and it's like scary. You could hear people like around in the crowd every time she would spike and just go, Jesus Christ, what was that?
Yeah, that was mostly me. I was very scared. Like the thought of having to stand in front of one of those made me shit myself a little bit. But I have a kind of unorthodox MVP for this game. So bear with me for a second. So Pitt goes down 2 sets. And, Louisville's cruising. We steal one back. Awesome, but Louisville's still in control. And then they came out firing, absolutely firing in the 4th set. Pitt takes the lead, all the momentum in the world, crowds into it, the girls are into it. And then what does Louisville do? A little bit of gamesmanship there. So apparently, allegedly, there was a little bit of blood got on the floor. I don't know if someone like busted a finger or something, but allegedly, I didn't see anyone attended to, but allegedly there was blood on the floor. So they stopped the game at like the peak of Pitt's momentum. Stop the game. Mr. Court caretaker person, there's a spot there. Oh, okay, you got it. Okay. Oh, wait. There's a spot there. They legitimately did this like a dozen times. Like just pointed out little spots on the floor, dragged it out as much as possible. And what I felt and what people who knew volleyball behind me felt, and I'm going to go by that because they knew what was going on, was like a clear attempt at some gamesmanship to kill the momentum. But that whole time, someone who I've kind of made fun of in my head quietly for years now stepped up for Pitt, and that was DJ B-Ren. For years, I've wondered, why the hell does Pitt have just like a DJ on retainer for sporting events? Well, that guy played every like hype song, third down and long song, touched it like every high school varsity basketball team mixtape song you could think of to keep the crowd in it. The girls were on the floor. That was the big difference to me. That was the turning point. Louisville was just standing around trying to slow things down, and everyone in a Pitt jersey was dancing. They were celebrating. They were getting the crowd into it. The crowd was raucous. And then we finally resume, and they really, really went foot to gas. And I know what you're thinking. David, the Loyal Sons don't cover a lot of women's sports. In fact, women's volleyball is pretty much the only one up to this point. Did you really just give the MVP of the biggest Pitt volleyball win maybe ever to like a 30-year-old dude? And to that I would say, shit, you kind of got me there. Not a good look. But I do think it's worth acknowledging, because it would have been very easy for Pitt to kind of come out flat out. Because, I mean, Louisville was really milking it. It would have been easy for Pitt to come out flat, but the concerted effort to keep everyone loose and in it, and the crowd was not letting up for that entire amount of time. I just think that's something worth calling out, because they kept that momentum going and won the whole damn thing. So I'm never, ever going to make fun of DJ B-Ren or Pitt for having a DJ on retainer ever again.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because as you were saying that, I was like, this sounds so bad. Like, oh, really? You attend a women's sporting event and the MVP is a DJ. So thank you for making your misogyny known.
And that's what we call a bit.
Well, he's also the DJ for the football team, right? How about we mix things up for that?
Sure.
No, I think comment.
Much less of an impact in those games.
Maybe it's as if he has no effect on the matches at all. But no, we'll go with your theory. My MVP will be Rachel Fairbanks. Yours can be the DJ dude. So moving on.
So yeah, that was women's volleyball. Congrats to them. I know Louisville's been the monkey on their back forever. I know how bad, like specifically Kat wanted this. So one of their last games at the Pete, for them to have that big of a win against a team that has been, we can say it now because we won, killing them for years. That is huge going, towards tournament time. So, and I understand that that's going to help with seeding as well. So shout out to those girls. That was awesome. Shout out to everyone that showed up, and let's win a natty.
Would love a natty.
Yeah, there's a chance with that win they can host the first round or two of the NCAA tournament. So as long as those rankings come out in our favor, you might get another chance to go pack the Pete.
Wow.
Do I have to stay home if that happens? Or only if they play Louisville?
Well, I was really worried about that, Dylan. I had only been to one prior match. It was against Oregon, who was also a top 10 team. And Pitt also lost the first two sets of that one. They won the next two to force a fifth, but they just didn't have enough gas left in the tank to pull off the reverse sweep that time. I'm like, oh my gosh, if this happens again, I'm at both of them. That would be 2 home losses all season the same way, and I'm at both of them. So if that was the case, I would ban myself. But we can confirm that it wasn't me. I'm not the bad luck guy. So Dylan, I think we'll allow you, just as long as they're not playing Louisville, because that is a theory.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, we can't fuck around with that one.
Can't wait.
We all know someone who's trying to figure out the next steps in their life. They're looking for something new, or maybe just a break. What if there's a job opportunity for those looking to make a change that requires no experience and pays up to $19.50 an hour to start, plus 401k and healthcare benefits? Whether someone you know is in between jobs, transitioning careers, or even just a recent grad or current student on break, Haddad Accelerated Delivery is an Amazon delivery partner that offers flexible opportunities to those looking for work. Whether it's part-time or full-time, long-term, or just until you figure out your next big move, Haddad Accelerated Delivery offers the stability and professional development you need. If you know someone who might benefit from talking to the team at Haddad, have them text 464646 to apply. That's a text to 464646 to apply. All right, on to football. Your Pitt Panthers are now the winners of 3, count them 3, football games in the 2023 season, including 2 against FBS opponents, and 1 more against a top 10 team than another school in the state.
Noted.
What a odd season this has been. And by odd, I mean terrible.
Bad. Yeah. But hey, I mean, something really promising happened in that game against Boston College.
I agree.
That was the Nate Yarnell show. Validation for all of those who, for the last 2 years, said we need to start that kid who played against Western Michigan. We laughed. We mocked. We questioned their football guyness. But holy shit, they might have been right.
I'll be the first to step up and say that I have been one of the loudest people in telling those people that they are wrong in calling for Nate Yarnell. These past couple weeks, I came around to him just because of the subpar play of Christian Veillere, but I was in the camp of, this guy has been on the roster. The coaches see him every day. He can't be all that good if they haven't given him a shot yet. I've heard from other sources, other people saying that they see him in practice. Coaches don't think he's any good. I'll eat that one. Nate Yarnell balled out. He looked the part of a Division I quarterback, the arm talent. How many times are we going to say that today? The arm talent, the poise. Honestly, the legs a little bit too on some of those read options. Nate Yarnell looked the part, didn't look scared, didn't look like they were holding anything back in the offense, and I was impressed. And I'm all aboard on the Nate Yarnell hype train.
I do think it's funny. It was Pitt's first drive. Yarnell completes a deep ball. I believe it was to Epps the first time, but it was like pretty far back across the body throw that you don't love to see whenever they release it, but it ended up working. So we're like, all right, gunslinger. And then a few plays later, he takes a shot deep. It's kind of in the double coverage. It's offline, and it's ruled an interception. And we're like, well, it was fun while it lasted. That was just kind of ridiculous. And then they review it. Clearly wasn't intercepted. Dodged a bullet. And from there on out, he looked really comfortable. I don't know what we thought was going to happen. We probably got brought down back to earth when we saw that terrible almost interception. But after that, he was calm, cool, and collected. And we've said that a couple times about quarterbacks this year, but he played a very solid game start to finish.
Yeah, I'm really, really leery about making any assessments about his future as a quarterback or Pitt's future with him at quarterback, because Gosh, I already did that once this year, didn't I?
Hmm.
We all
But
did.
Thought we
we
had
all
our
did.
guy, huh?
We thought we had our guy. Maybe we have 2 guys. Maybe we have 0 guys. But either way, question I got to ask you guys: that pump fake to pull the safety in and then hitting Bub Means over top for like a 70-yard touchdown is the best play by a Pitt quarterback since.
I mean, Nick Patty, his scramble, that game-winning drive, I'll give it to him.
The scramble.
Phil didn't do anything like that. I mean, Slovis, what was his best play?
That time he threw it 10 yards to Bart, and then Bart hurdled a guy.
Or that one check down he threw to Izzy.
I was going to say the dime he threw to Bub Means in the back of the end zone that Bub Means deflected in the air and was intercepted.
Enough.
Okay.
I like Saturday's Bub Means play a little bit better than that.
Squid, I kind of agree with you. I was actually going to say since the fake slide, and I think you could make that argument, but no, that's a good callback. But yeah, I mean, that was, I don't want to get too hyped up on him, but like, that was big time. He had a couple throws that were big time. He made his reads. I haven't seen a quarterback in Pittsburgh do that in a while. Left, middle, right, back to the middle. Absolute dart over the middle to Epps or to Means or to Mumpfield. And Dylan, you said it with the arm talent thing. I hate arm talent arguments. I think that's just a phrase people throw around to sound smart or to hype up prospects that aren't actually that good, but people want to convince themselves they can turn into a real quarterback. But he threw the ball so effortlessly, and it went so fast and so far.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. There are a few plays that I was like, haven't seen that yet this year. And they weren't like extraordinary downfield throws. It was just look at this guy to the left, come back to the right, decisive, right at his chest, first down. We're not asking him to do too much.
The one I remember, it was to Mumpfield. I want to say it may have even been the same drive as the Bub Means touchdown. I could be getting my timeline mixed up here, but yeah, Mumpfield just ran a tough little route, like an out and in, and it got 10 yards. It was right at the sticks for the first down, but Yarnell just kind of slung it right where it needed to be into a somewhat tight window, put it like right where it was easy enough for Mumpfield to catch it, easy enough for him to turn up for the first down. And I was like, wow, that looked big, like a play that wasn't that easy or that typical of a play to make, and he made it look pretty elementary. So look, he went 11 for 19. I'm not gonna say he's the next Kenny Pickett, that he's the guy. I mean, the guy, trademark emoji that everyone wants to tout, but I saw enough from him that I would like to see him have a chance. And I'm sure we're going to talk for the next 2 months about who Pitt should and will get in the portal. But I saw enough from Yarnell last night, and this could change by Saturday, depending on how the Duke game goes. But I saw enough from him last night where I've fully talked myself into him being good enough to be a starter next year.
So
I would like to, real quick, David, this, I'll say this to the end of the Yarnell talk. So you go first.
I was going to ask if we should wait until next week to play the how many games do we win with him starting game 1.
No, today's the right day to do it.
Today's the right day.
Okay,
all right,
I was going to say something very similar. We were talking, and it's like, well, how soon are people going to say this is an 8-win team with Nate Yarnell? And it took like
seconds,
a few plays.
Do you guys buy that at all? I mean, you can give me exact game figures if you want, but I'm not ready to give this team enough of a pass to say, oh yeah, this was a team that with the right quarterback is capable of 8 wins.
8, absolutely not.
8,
but
no. So I was pretty certain that Pitt could have beat either Cincinnati or West Virginia, or both Cincinnati and West Virginia, if Veer was playing in those games, like going back and playing the same game with Veer. Wake Forest, I mean, I thought Veer played pretty good against them, so that feels like a game they would probably still lose.
It depends. Is Nate Yarnell a slide or dive forward guy? Because that could be a big factor.
I think we saw on Thursday night that he seems to lower his shoulder. He likes to mix it up a little bit.
Plus, he's like 8 feet tall, so you have to kind of factor that into it. He's also a worse runner than Veer. He's just 20 and 6'6", so it looks like he's a little bit faster because of those leg strides. He's a little harder to bring down, but Veer's a better runner.
He's not as good at he's better at running the read option than Veer.
Yes, he can hand a football off.
Yeah. See, all of this also changes because it goes back to like how good would Veer have been if he would have just been the guy throughout camp, or even from game one with with the necessary reps. So let me mark me down for bowl eligible with Nate Yarnell.
I want to future proof this before we go any further. We're assuming that the version of Nate Yarnell that played on Thursday is playing in all these games. I just don't want this to come back and bite us if he sucks against Duke. But so, yeah, we're talking about the version of Nate Yarnell we saw against BC. But Squid, go ahead.
I just thought of this whenever Dylan was talking about how, what was your exact wording, Dylan? You know what? I'm just going to make fun of the coaches. I forget how you phrased it, but it sparked something. I think you said Yarnell's just a gamer. I don't know what he looks like in practice. Maybe he just goes out on Saturdays and plays well. But after the game, Narduzzi said that Nate Yarnell is probably the smartest quarterback that we have. Just like knowing the offense, and I assume that everything that comes along with that. But I don't get it. How is he third on our depth chart then?
Yeah, usually smart quarterbacks that can throw a ball a mile with the flick of a wrist.
Like, how bad was he practicing if he's like that smart and knows what he's doing, but can't get ahead of Veer and Jerkovic?
I mean,
shiny new toys. We brought in 2 transfers. We've seen this other guy before. Our shiny new toys are here, and we want to use them. Is that it, maybe?
Plus, Cignetti gets no benefit of the doubt when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks. He picked the wrong one last year. We all saw that. And he might have picked the wrong one this year twice. And Narduzzi is very happy to defer blame on that because he only spends 15% of his time with the offense, right? He doesn't make those calls. Ask Coach Cignetti. So I'm inclined to blame Cignetti for that one. If we're playing the blame game.
Point to say maybe Yarnell is just a gamer. When the lights are on, he's better than how he looks.
Right.
Monday through Friday. Seemed like our old friend Keaton Sloves was a Monday to Friday warrior, and then the lights would come on and he'd shrivel up a little bit. Nate Yarnell might just be the opposite. So I think that's our best hope moving forward for now, at least.
Yeah, and this old conversation could sound completely insane come Saturday afternoon. So we'll see how that plays out. I would like to talk about something other than the quarterback situation. First order of business, Rodney Hammond, 145 yards, career high rushing, 15 carries, 145. Looked like the Rodney Hammond we expected to see this season, and sealed the game with the 66-yard touchdown, the breakaway speed that we really haven't seen from Rodney Hammond in his career. I tweeted out when it happened at the game, I saw Rodney Hammond like pleading with Andre Powell, like, no, let me go in. I'm good. Like, let me go in. I don't know what the conversation was. I just saw the tail end of it, and I saw Andre Powell like wave him, like with his play sheet or clipboard, whatever he was holding. Rodney Hammond runs into the huddle, Sebo runs out. 2-3 plays later, Rodney Hammond house call ices the game. I would love to know why Rodney Hammond wasn't in the game at that point.
I'd love to know why Rodney Hammond wasn't in the game for like the last 10 games. I mean, that was very validating for us, one. So I guess we can feel a little bit good about it. We were right. We're smart. No one's ever really accused us of that before. But like, holy shit, where was this the whole season? You have two running backs, and one is so clearly better that every fan knows it. Every statistic points to it. Yet we insist on trotting Sebo out and giving him 4 or 5 more carries than Hammond a game, but not really even trying much with our running game in the first place.
I just kind of thought that our running game was screwed, whether it's the line, the running backs, a combination of just a terrible offense. So I didn't really think it mattered who was back there at this point because I just didn't think it would work. But for whatever reason, it did on Thursday. How could I forget that was a Thursday night game?
Yeah, I'd like to say I like Sebo a lot. I think by all accounts, is a great teammate, great locker room guy. He ran for over 100 yards in the weight game. Like, he's a capable, I would say, backup running back in the ACC and can spell your number one guy. But it started to feel like he had overtaken Rodney at points during the season as the top tailback. And anything outside of Rodney being injured, I just don't see any excuse for it. Because we've seen Rodney Hammond the previous 2 seasons, and we've seen flashes of it this year. I mean, this is a real deal. This is a guy before the season we were talking about could be first team all ACC running back.
Yes.
And here we are 11 games in. He has 106 carries for 526 yards. I mean, it's a criminal, like, fireable offense by Andre Powell and the rest of the offensive coaching staff for allowing this to happen.
Yeah, pretty unthinkable if you ask me. We're gonna do a post-mortem after the season, and
You're right.
we're already working on this together. So just to let you, the listener, know that we have it's going to be in depth, it's going to be extensive, and we are going to trace what's gone wrong with this program from like clock hitting 0 against Syracuse in 2021 to today. And I'm certain this is going to come up, but like, holy shit, man. Just give him 40 carries against Duke and hope he stays.
Fingers crossed. Anything else we liked from this game?
I don't know if it was because it was senior night or if it was just a new week, new quarterback. Thursday night against Boston College, and there was a little bit more juice. But it was nice to see the team didn't just roll over and kind of phone it in. The last stretch of the season has been depressing. They've been blown out by good teams. They've been pushed around by bad teams. It can be very easy for everything to just go to shit and be like, whatever, half of us are going to transfer. No one wants to be here right now. And just phone it in. And who cares if you lose to Boston College? But defense played strong. Dayon had a career day. Good to see the team showing some signs of life despite the worst season of our lifetime happening.
Can I talk about something I didn't like, just like real quick?
Go for it.
Yeah, the middle of the defense is simply going to need to be addressed either via the portal or via some other way. Robichaux ran all over them. And this has been a recurring theme, and this is why I don't even know if I buy that this team would be bowl eligible had Yarnell or Veyer started the whole season. they've been gashed all year. 150 yards to a tight end, 120 to Robichaux. Virginia Tech. It's weak and soft. I don't know if I see 6 wins on this schedule, even with well above average quarterback play. And it is directly because this is the softest defense of the Narduzzi era, even counting the Matt Canada years where we were scoring 42 points a game and still only winning 7-8 games because the defense was that bad.
Yeah, my counter to that would be, they only allowed 16 points. Some of these losses, West Virginia, they allowed 17 points. Cincinnati turned out to be 27. Virginia Tech was bad. Notre Dame, we don't need to discuss that. It held Florida State to 24 points. Although it's not the typical dominating Narduzzi defense of you're not going to run the ball on us, you have to throw the ball for 400 yards. I don't think it's as I think everything, the issues with this team and how pathetic this season came out to be comes down to the offense, comes down to the quarterback play, and just the incompetence on that side of the ball. That's how I see it. I think there's also the mental side of things of we're getting stop after stop here, and our offense can't provide any type of juice. So, sure, it's not a dominating defense like we've seen from some of Narduzzi's teams, but that's why I'm willing to say bowl eligible with Yarnell.
I've seen some random stats and charts on the internet that I'm just going to blindly believe that said this is a top 20 defense based on a number of metrics still, which is surprising, but maybe just not as good as we're used to. So with the better offense, I'm sure the defense looks a lot better, like Dylan said. A lot of holes, though. Probably be a lot more holes after next week, but that's something we'll dive into when we get there.
Are we there now? Do we want to talk about what we need to see against Duke and who we think is playing in their last game as a Panther?
Let's do it.
Excellent. Dill, you want to kick us off? This counts as a preview. We're done with the sports book. I ran away with it.
We're extending that into basketball season. What do we want to see? I think it's pretty simple for me. I want to see Nate Yarnell look good again. Let him sling it a little bit. Let him take some shots. If he plays to the same level or better compared to his performance against Boston College, then I'm going to get really excited about him for next season. And I'm going to talk myself into him being the guy over the next 9 months. Other areas, I'd love to see Rodney Hammond get the ball. I'd love to see the defense stand up for themselves and not let the ball get run down their throat. But first and foremost, the only reason to tune into this game is to watch how Nate Yarnell plays quarterback.
Hard to disagree.
Yeah, I don't even know what else to say. If Nate Yarnell looks pretty solid, it'll be reassuring to know they'll have at least one quarterback capable of winning games entering next year, pending whoever comes in the portal. And outside of that, I'm not really getting my hopes up because at this point, I'm not really expecting anybody to stay. I'm just going to go out into the sunset of this season being over and expecting everybody good to transfer away. So anybody who stays will be a pleasant surprise. That's my mindset.
So, is that more about trying to set an expectation for yourself, or do you believe that we're going to see a mass exodus?
What do you consider a mass exodus?
Well, I guess it's relative for Pitt because Dews has done a great job of retaining talent, but I don't know, a lot.
I think in 2023, if you go 3-9 or 4-8 as a Power 5 team, you're going to lose 20 players.
Yeah, whenever I think mass exodus, there were one year there's a Tennessee team that had like 24 dudes in the portal. West Virginia got decimated a year or two ago. I don't know if it'll be that bad. I can see it being like 12 to 15, but of that 12 to 15, a fewer guys that
Key
probably would have
guys.
started. So we'll probably lose a lot of guys, and it's like, whatever. We have 3 other of you that are on the depth chart. So maybe a little bit more of those. Because in years past, those guys, they trusted the process. They knew that they were on a good team. So it just was a matter of them taking a jump or the guy ahead of them leaving. When you're this bad, you don't have that kind of patience. So I think we'll get a few more of those guys. And then, I don't know. You look around the receiver room. Everyone's going to be chomping at the bit for our tight end. I mean, anywhere. Anyone's up for grabs. Dayon said he's coming back. So I believe that he's going to come back. He wouldn't publicly say he's going to come back to Pitt next year with a week left in the season if he wasn't going to come back. I know college football is crazy, but I feel like outside of him, anything could happen. PJ O'Brien tweeted the peace symbol. Everyone jumped to, well, guess he's leaving Pitt. It's just the world we live in.
Yeah. A lot of the things I want to see in the game this week are related to keeping guys in the portal. I want someone to sit down with him and be like, all right, how many carries? How much do we have to demonstrate that we're going to run the offense through you in the future for you to stay? Because I really think he needs. We have a young stable of running backs, but they're young. They're going to be very new. Yassine Willis, if we can hold on to him, will probably contribute next year, but I'd really love to have Hammond, so give him the ball. And there's a lot of young guys who Deuce has been hesitant to put in games or has been building in slowly, guys who have gotten a lot of hype, who I just want to see playing the whole game. Show them that you're committed to them, and I want to see them look very good so I can feel something going into next season. Lovelace, Bass, Fitzsimmons. Give me the young, hyped up and coming guys, and show me that this football team is going to be good in the future, and show them that they matter, they're a part of it, and they should stay.
I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I was going to say kind of like the Sun Bowl last year.
How dare you?
All of those guys step up in the last game of the year and got our hopes up. We're like, hey, this is what we got coming back next year. And it just didn't work out that way. But forget I said that. I agree.
This is their bowl game. You got one more shot at it against Duke. See if you can take them down. So, with that being said, can we say who we think is most likely to be playing their last game in a Pitt uniform? Obviously, non-seniors who are out of eligibility.
Phil Dracovic.
Smart ass. Gavin Bartholomew. Well, he's actually not playing. He's out. He's out hurt. That was the.
Yes, we can strike that one.
Did play his last game in a Pitt uniform.
Yeah, Slash has already played their last game. And we want to do this now, right? Because by the time the game ends, we could start to already hear news of guys who are putting their name in the portal, whatever it may be. So that's why we're doing it now. We've talked about this topic probably since week 3, or actually even last season. I mean, if Gavin Bartholomew is going to have one more season of eligibility playing college football, he needs to go somewhere where he knows he's going to be used and be a focal point of the offense. And so far, Pitt has wasted 2 of his seasons.
Yeah.
So I think he's at the top of the board. And also, he's a type of player who, I mean, he's 6'5", 250, athletic. I mean, one of his plays was number 1 on Sports. People outside of Pittsburgh know who he is.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a market for him, whereas some of these other guys we think may leave. Like I look at even like a Rodney Hammond. Like as much as we know Rodney is good, he's a kind of undersized running back who's only ran for 500 yards each season he's played in college. But Bart's the type of guy who's going to have a market.
I think where we're really going to get hurt is receiver depth. There was a sizable crew of freshman receivers who came in and got kind of left in the dust by Kenny Johnson. Zion Fowler-L, Izzy Polk, and
Lamar Seymour.
I think they're going to see how far behind Kenny Johnson they are. They're going to see like, oh, well, Mumfield and Means could both hypothetically come back. They're going to see the offense that Pat Narduzzi likes to run, and they're going to say, yeah, deuces. I think we're going to lose at least two of those three guys. And that's not based on any inside information. That's just how I feel.
That seems like almost a guarantee that at the end of the season, whether they meet with the coach tells them, like, hey, here's where you stand. There's like 7 guys in front of you, including incoming freshmen. Stay if you want, but the writing's on the wall. It's got to shake out one way or the other. I think an area where we'll probably be okay is defensive back, just because you look at the guys that you're losing, and it's like, hey, someone's got to step up. We're losing Woods,
Marquez
Williams, and did I
probably
do
Devonshire.
Yeah, I believe he did. So, by need, those guys might stick around. I don't know. I might be too little too late for Rodney Hammond. That might be my prediction. David or Dylan, you said just give him like 35 carries to make him happy this week. But I don't know if 1 week will change his mind after what's happened this season. I know Sibo will be gone. The room will be a little bit lighter. You have some young guys behind them. They'll probably mix in a little bit, but maybe he's like, I don't like this offense. I know what this team is. I'm going to go ahead and see what I can do elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, with Rodney, he was already in a running back room that he was clearly the best running back. And even if he returns and knows that's the case for next year, how does he know anything will change unless there's been conversations with the coaches? So, like I said, I don't know if Rodney's been banged up or what it's been, but if there's not something like clearly that he is aware of that limited his use this year, then I think it's deuces for him.
Can we talk about something happier now?
No. Well, this might be happier depending on what you think of it. I have in our notes here, last game in a Pitt uniform / polo. So what coaches are getting the old axe? Signetti, it's his last game as a Pitt's offensive coordinator.
Has to be.
No,
I don't want to. I'm dead serious when I say I do not want to keep doing this show if it's covering a Frank Signetti offense next year. I really do not want to.
That's a lock, right? Like,
oh yeah,
99.9%.
Yeah. I think he would be gone already if it wasn't for his yins or ties. If he didn't say yins, he wasn't from Western PA, he'd be gone by a few weeks ago. But they're going to let Frank retire, walk away, I think. And then, yeah, it seems like Narduzzi's is a little bit fed up with him, too, the way that he seems to throw him under the bus, saying the quarterbacks are his problem. Yeah. So he's got to be gone. It seems like the last 2 seasons, you've been hearing that Borble is going to retire. I don't know if he's a good coach or not. 1 week, the O-line's great. The next week, they suck. Year in, year out, it's different. That's the other one that you hear all the time.
Powell could be in some trouble.
I was going to say,
the handling of the running back situation and special. Yeah, I mean, he covers 2 position groups that were lackluster this year.
I think he's just a Narduzzi OG. Like, him and Narduzzi have been together for so long. I think he's just Narduzzi, Salem, and Powell, just the three amigos. Doesn't matter how bad they're going to do. Narduzzi's going to keep him because he's loyal and he likes the way that they like work together and they're all on the same page, even if it's like a stupid page with like terrible ideas on it.
Do we think Taekwon Underwood could be on the chopping block? 2 years at Pitt. Receivers have not been overly impressive either season. Flip side of that, he brought in, by all accounts, a really impressive freshman class of receivers this season. Is he someone? Is it too early to pull it on him, or?
I'd be surprised if he would be fired. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a job elsewhere because we're not in a good spot right now.
He's an awesome recruiter. Kenny Johnson was an unbelievable find, and I simply do not blame the lack of production from the receivers this year on him. They were open, typically. They caught balls, typically. I think it was on another guy in that offensive room who failed to get them the ball.
Fair enough. Now can we talk about something a little
Now can we talk about basketball? Yeah.
So our predictions, Pitt's going to win 35-28.
Your prediction.
We all cool with that, guys? No, collective.
Yeah, anything to stop talking about football.
Sure. Okay. Done. Now.
Hey, Panther Nation. Have you ever crashed your spin scooter going down Cardiac Hill? Or wiped out on an icy sidewalk in South Oakland? Have you ever been hit by a bus crossing Forbes Avenue? Well, you may not have to pay that hospital bill on your own. If you're hurt in an accident, pick up the phone and call Guido at Gurrera Law. Guido Gurrera is a University of Pittsburgh Law School grad, Pitt football superfan, and experienced personal injury attorney who's licensed in Pennsylvania and Ohio. And it is 100% free to call him for consultation on your personal injury case. So the next time you get rear-ended in Oakland rush hour traffic, or if you fall down the stairs at Peters, call Guido. All joking aside, Oakland and the world can be a very dangerous place. If you need legal help, talk to Guido. He'll treat you like a fellow Pitt fan and never like a number. 412-229-7757 is the number to call. That's 412-229-7757 to call Guido. You can also contact Gurrera Law at GurreraLaw.com. That's Gurrera. Call Guido today.
Okay, now that we're done talking about football, finally, and we'll be done for a good while pretty soon, we get to talk about the awesome basketball team that the University of Pittsburgh has right now. Through 4 games, they're 4-0. They're blowing teams out, most recently coming off a 50-plus point win over the Jacksonville Dolphins. Put up 107 points. Just an absolute clinic. Jacksonville looked like they didn't belong in the same arena as Pitt. And now things get interesting. Pitt starts to play some power opponents in the upcoming week. But before we hop to that, viewing the game on Friday night, let's just talk about how sick they looked. Where do we want to start?
They're the best team ever. I'm looking up national championship odds right now.
We were just having so much fun. It was like every possession, something really cool is happening, and we were turning to each other and high-fiving and laughing and being like, oh my God. Every possession.
Yeah, it was if it wasn't a Blake dunk, it was a Bub Carrington 3, or it was a Guillermo dunk or assist to Jorge. Like, it was literally nonsense. I mean, you don't score 107 points in a college game without just putting on an absolute clinic. Shooting the ball, scoring the ball, moving the ball around. Believe they assisted on like something like 23 of 31 baskets. Those numbers probably aren't exactly right, but it was just an absolute show that they put on. And that's kind of become somewhat of a theme. I mean, they haven't scored less than, 83 points in a game yet this season?
While you look it up, it was the defense too. Jacksonville
Sorry,
State was
86.
objectively disturbingly bad, but the way that Pitt played on defense, it was just like you're playing against like your little brother in like the living room Nerf hoop. Just, oh, you're going up for a layup? Yeah, see you later. Swatted across the room, and they couldn't get any good looks. This team is good. We were talking about it the other day. We have not played a very good team yet. FGCU might be decent. Jury's out. Other teams not good. But just if you watch basketball and you watch that game, that's a tough team.
Yeah. High major teams lose by games all the time. If you follow John Rothstein on Twitter, it's who so-and-so loses a bye game to so-and-so, the epitome of brutality. And it happens every night in college basketball. And Pitt has absolutely poured it on these lower level teams early on. And I don't want to get too comparative to last year's team because it's very different situations. You have a core of guys on this year's team that played last year who has won games. Last year was just kind of building that foundation. But I mean, compare this year's team to where last year's team was. Compare this year's team's depth to where last year's team could play and be comfortable with maybe 7 guys. And I just said I don't want to compare this team to last year's team, but here I go and comparing them in every facet. Knowing how good last year's team played at points and then watching this year, I'm like, last year we were an 11 seed. I've talked myself into pick being like a 4 seed come March.
Plus 20,000 to win the national championship, and I am punishing it. Because at the very least, I know at some point this season I'll be able to cash out at like a pretty ridiculous little profit. I'm gonna ride this one out, and we're gonna win a national championship. But just food for thought for those of you out there.
National championship odds are tough, but like even to win the ACC regular season title, they're 22-1. So I got a little action on that. I mean, we're going to learn a lot about this team in the upcoming week, but so far, you've basically gotten everything you could ask for.
Dylan, it took me a minute to find the box score and the exact team, but talked about how we're just pouring it on bad teams, and Power 5 teams lose bad games all the time. One of Pitt's future opponents, Missouri, lost to Jackson State as 22-point favorites the other day, so happens all the time. Remember last year, this Pitt basketball team, they were losing 34-31 to Alabama State at the Pete.
I think that was that during a Steeler game? Or it was on an NFL Sunday. Like it was absolutely a game that I had no business actually watching at that point because we thought the team sucked again.
Pretty sure I was traveling. I don't know if I was at a wedding, but I remember looking at it being like, what the fuck is happening? I thought we're decent. They were 3-0 at the time. Or they were 2-3 at the time. So they weren't even playing that well. Alabama State 0-5. But they poured it on there and they ended up winning. But I think William and Mary was a close game too for a while. Took them until like the 10-minute mark of the second half to pull away. So it's very different. This team, I don't know if they're already better than last year's team, but they're at least starting off a lot better and they're clicking with each other a lot better. You can see that. The chemistry, it's there.
Good teams win. Great teams start 4-0 against the spread.
Mm-hmm. If you haven't been betting on Pitt to cover in the first half, full game, and their team total over, you're missing out.
Just giving away free money.
Yeah, Vegas might catch up here pretty soon, but until they do, I'm going to keep profiting off this Pitt Panthers team. So another blowout win. They've looked amazing. We're excited. But this is a big week coming up here. So Thanksgiving week, and we've got the NIT Is it the preseason NIT? I don't even know what they officially call this tournament.
The season tip-off.
The
Is what I'm
NIT
looking
season
at.
tip-off. Okay. There might have been some rebranding. I do remember it being called the preseason NIT at one point. Anyway, heading up to Brooklyn, playing in the Barclays Center in an NBA arena, and you take on Wednesday on Thanksgiving Eve. They face off against the Florida Gators. So this is their first high major opponent of the season. Florida comes in at 3-1. Florida's a little more battle tested than Pitt is thus far. They have so far played Loyola Maryland. They won by 20. They lost a close one, lost by 3 to UVA. Beat Florida A&M, and then just beat Florida State by 21 the other night. Now, Florida State was terrible last year. I don't know what they're going to look like this year. I'd imagine not much better because they lost Marcus Cleveland to Miami. But Florida's played at least a couple of high major opponents already. So will be interesting to see how we match up in the first game that Pitt plays a big-time opponent. First game for Bub Carrington, Jalen Lowe playing against high major competition.
Yeah, I don't know how talented Florida is. They beat Virginia, but Virginia currently has 18 points at halftime against Wisconsin. So,
well, they lost to Virginia.
Yeah, sorry, got that backwards. Either way, we don't know how good Virginia is. We don't know how good any team really is. But Florida might have that upper hand because they've played in those tougher environments. They've played some better competition than Pitt has. So maybe Pitt isn't ready for the moment yet. Maybe they come out a little slow, have a few more dry spells than usual. But I don't think that'll happen. I'm like very, very confident that this is just a great basketball team.
Have you? Yeah. When was the last time you were this excited for a Pitt basketball game in November?
I'm pretty sure DeJuan Blair was on the squad.
Yeah, like I can't even remember being like, oh, the preseason NIT coming up. Like, yeah, maybe when they were playing Duke at Madison Square Garden, and they probably are the beneficiary of some of our fandom not being put as much towards the football team. But no, seriously, like Wednesday night is appointment television for me and all of us. I know that for a fact because we've been planning what we're going to do for it for about a week and a half.
I know you are correct. Like I've been a part of that planning, but it's still so funny.
Yes. What are you doing Wednesday at 9:30 the night before Thanksgiving? You're watching Pitt basketball.
I'm drinking and I'm watching Pitt basketball.
Would you rather have really uncomfortable interactions with people you haven't seen since high school in a packed bar, or would you rather anchor down on a buddy's couch with a personal 24-pack of Icy Light Mango and just go to town while Bub Carrington does his thing?
I'm torn,
what are you drinking the second half?
Probably switch it up for some iced tea or whatever they call the Turners.
Iced tea. Yeah, I'm excited. Since we likely aren't going to film a show on Thanksgiving Day, as far as I'm aware, I haven't checked with our scheduler, but I'd have to think that won't be happening. Do want to touch on in the tournament, winner of this game plays the winner of Oregon State and Baylor. Baylor, interestingly enough, has a freshman of their own, Jacoby Walter, also considered a potential first-round / lottery pick. He's averaging 18 points a game for Baylor. Could be a very intriguing matchup between Bub Carrington and Jacoby Walter if both Pitt and Baylor win on Wednesday night. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves, just beat Florida, but that could be a really, really good early season test. Florida's going to be a good test, but Baylor's ranked number 13 in the country right now. So could be super interesting to see those two face off on Black Friday if we get there. Losers of the game will play each other as well. So Pitt either gets Baylor or Oregon State on Friday.
You know what I want to see, guys? I'm going to see a little number next to the Pitt basketball team's name on the scoreboard when they take on Missouri next week.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. No AP votes just yet, but I think that could change rather quickly.
Wink, wink. Well, let's do it. Let's go 2-0 this week. Let's have another great week of Pitt sports. Maybe a victory on Saturday too. Huh? We'll see. But exciting week for Pitt sports. Exciting week for all of us. 3-day week for most of us. And then Thanksgiving, we get to stuff our face, playing a turkey bowl that we don't stretch nearly enough for, and then sit on a couch all day, eat and drink. So it's a great week ahead. Excited for more Pitt sports. Thankful for our Pitt sports teams, and thankful for Bub Carrington and Blake Henson. Guys, you got any parting thoughts?
Please
Volleyball's
win a lot more.
Volleyball's up to number 3 in the country.
Let's go. Thankful for that. Awesome. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your holidays. Be safe. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. And as always, hail, loyal sons of Pittsburgh.
It's not much of a secret that I have a home field apparel problem. Even before we started this show, I couldn't even step foot on a new college campus without making sure there was something from that school's home field collection waiting on my porch when I got home. So we are, understandably, over the moon to partner with Home Field this season to keep Pitt fans comfy, cozy, and stylish at a fraction of the price by using promo code LOYALSONS for 15% off your next order. This discount applies site-wide and with unique vintage collections for every school from Pitt to Bama, Jackson State to Colgate, Michigan, Marshall, Marquette, and both Miamis. There's something for every fan. So whether you're buying for a Pitt fan or for a loser freak, use promo code LOYALSONS at homefieldapparel.com to save big on your next order. Each code applies once per email address, so get those work emails and burners ready. That's homefieldapparel.com.